Lots to talk about. Let's speak to Quentin Kidd, a professor in political science and director of the Western Center for Public Policy at Christopher Newport University in Virginia, joining us live. My goodness, if two New Yorkers like Donald Trump and Chuck Schumer cannot come to an agreement, are we seriously heading to a full shutdown?
Look, in 5 hours, it wouldn't surprise me if many parts of the federal government shut down. I am pessimistic right now that we can come to a deal, or that the Republicans and Democrats can come to a deal, and one that President Obama can agree with. President Trump can agree with also. Part of the problem here is that you've got three parties negotiating with each other. Normally, you have the Republicans and the Democrats negotiating, but now you have the Republicans and the Democrats and President Donald Trump negotiating, and they're not always on the same pages. And that's part of the problem here. And so you saw Chuck Schumer go directly to Donald Trump to negotiate today, bypassing Republicans in the Senate. And that says a lot about the dynamics of politics in Washington right now.
Now, the crux is, the breaking point is DACA, the Dreamers. Just explain to us what the problem is here, what the Republicans and the Democrats, what they can't negotiate on, what they can't agree to.
So these are 800,000 people who were brought to the United States by their parents when they were minors. Their parents came into the country illegally, but these were children that grew up here. Some of them were infants. Some of them were, 10, 12 years old. They were minors. President Obama signed an executive order in 2012, essentially protecting them, giving them the right to work and to live legally in society. Donald Trump rescinded that executive order, and said, I'm going to give Congress a year to make them either legal or make them leave. That deadline is coming up in March, and that's the pressure that Democrats feel, because the Democrats, a lot of immigrant reform groups that support these these DACA children are Democratic supporters, and they're putting pressure on the Democrats to make DACA fixes a part of the budget deal. Democrats let two short-term budget deals go through without tying DACA to them. They decided to take a stand this time, and we may see a government shutdown because of it.
But Professor Kidd, there are Democrats who don't want to be seen to be too giving towards the Dreamers, the so-called Dreamers, of course, because they're looking ahead to the midterms in November.
Yeah, there are a small number of Democratic senators who are running for re-election in this November in states where DACA is not supported. I'm thinking of Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, a state that voted for Donald Trump, a state that isn't necessarily friendly toward immigrants. Joe Manchin wants to win re-election, wants another term in the Senate, and so there are about a half a dozen senators like Joe Manchin who understand that the Democrats need to care about these DACA recipients and need to pay attention to their supporters who care about them. But they're in states that supported Donald Trump and don't really care about him. And that puts those Democratic senators in a vice.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. The countdown is on. Professor Kidd from the Christopher Newport University in Virginia. Good to speak to you. Thank you very much.
You too.